Serious, does death scare you? If so, why or why not? The though of nothingness terrifies me at night. When I let my brain wander, I start thinking about things like what if I were immortal, and then I start thinking about being 4 million years old and that terrifies me. Then I start thinking about how the life of the universe is finite, and I trip out more. Dude, I've been having crazy thoughts over the lack of existence. In a way I feel that the lack of existing makes life pointless. I'm not suicidal by any means, but it does way overpoint me. Existential nihilism. I'm here with you. Life is pointless, humanity itself is pointless, and it is inescapably depressing. As much as you can try to take the school of thought that this is rather liberating, see Kurg's video on optimistic nihilism. It'll never quite fix the issue for me. I try not to talk to people about it because I don't want to depress them, and I try to ignore this knowledge as much as I can. Living forever is very similar to being dead. No, I mean I don't want to die before accomplishing something, but it happens to everyone. No need to fear it. Does the lack of existence scare you? Sorry if you're religious. Now that does scare me a bit. It's like what come next. You know, I've pondered about what comes next. I do believe strongly that our consciousness does merge with the universe, like what happened before the Big Bang, nothingness, or are there some other forces at play? Before I became a Christian I used to believe that you just stopped existing when you die. I figured that being dead would be exactly the same as the time before my birth. I didn't remember or feel anything then, because I didn't exist yet. That time before my birth is an even more complete nothingness than when you have a night of dreamless sleep. Back then it was comforting to me, not frightening. Of course I was a lot younger then, and death seemed like something very far away in my future. It used to, but I feel okay with it now that I've lived my life. Not that I want to die, I hope to live a while yet, but if I do, it's okay. Follow up, is there a thing that would make you feel fulfilled in life that would make death seem a bit more acceptable? I really think fear of death is an evolutionary construct, so having kids was a huge part of it, and I do believe that seeing grandchildren would be the only thing that could mean much. Honestly, I never planned to be a parent. My life's work and experiences seemed so important at the time, but looking back, the only thing I really feel make death okay is the fact that my kids exist, which makes no sense and is no more help than a pat on the head, especially to those intending to be childless. Wish I could be more help. Have you read You Want a Physicist to Speak at Your Funeral? It may offer a different perspective. Nope. In all seriousness, death seems like the safest place in the world. Does the lack of consciousness scare you? Or should it be something I or others reading this should not be scared of? To me it sounds incredible. I used to drink and do drugs to lose consciousness, as I'm sure many others did do. But you can't completely lose yourself in that way if you want to remain in a job and as a functioning member of society. Also, the brief loss of consciousness is followed by a very rude awakening in the form of sickness and banging headaches. In death, none of these things are present. Interesting thought. I have wondered about what happens after you die, half done drugs, and have lost consciousness due to depression or love, and that is something that I reference when I do think of death. Is that something that you would reference when you think of dying, the lack of consciousness? Not really. I've kind of come to a point where I believe not feeling anything is better than feeling something, and it doesn't matter how great your life is. Being dead is something I absolutely am not scared of, but the suffering definitely. Interesting. Follow up, if you could choose to die a certain way, which way would you choose? Why or why not? Well, I think I would choose to die in the same way that most people would if they had the choice, in my sleep as painlessly as possible, and being in perfect health up until that point. That is understandable. A lot of people do decide to want to go out as painlessly as possible. There is that gray area of between death. How painful is dying really? That is such a thing that I thought about for the better half of my life. No, being a nihilist, I don't really care. Didn't Google, so sorry. What does nihilist mean? The rejection of all religious and moral principles, in the belief that life is meaningless. Interesting. As of late I have been thinking that our lives are really meaningless. With death equals nothingness, then why we live? If science were to explain the reason of our lives, would your stance on non-belief change? I'm not sure if that makes sense. We continue to pursue life because our brains drives us to experience pleasure. We experience pleasure when we do things that help us survive, eat, make friends, reproduce, defeat our opponents, etc. That's the scientific reason for our lives. Death is simply another milestone in our journey. We just can't happen to see what's beyond it, like what happened before we were born. If nothing is beyond it, I doubt it'll be like the nothingness before our first memory. It's not like we'll be thrown into a dark room and be there for all eternity once this particular journey ends. What makes you think it would be any different from before we were born? Before we were born we couldn't think or feel, and we couldn't experience anything or know anything. I figure the same would be true after death. The brain has shut down, so we won't be able to think or feel, and all the memories will be lost as our brains slowly deteriorate. In the end I think it would be just as before our inception. Yes and no. It's a hard question. Faced it a few times where I accepted this is it, but here we are. Guess certain life experiences can make you more used to situations that might seem downright insane to others. Not knowing when makes it very easy for me to carry on about my day, since I can't stop it from happening. Maybe I'll die before I finish this post, or maybe I'll die at 104. I'm scared of death in that odds are in favor of me living long enough to see another family member pass away, and that scared me more. I'll be alive to feel that loss again more likely than not, and that scares me more than the thought of myself dying. Not that I'm in any way looking for that to happen, but again it's inevitable. A few months back, I was in the IQ, staring at the clock on the wall, counting the hours since I arrived, and was still alive. I wasn't scared. I understood that there was a good chance I wouldn't get out of there, and was okay with that. It stopped being about what landed me there, and more about whether or not I was still alive at that moment. I'd look up at that clock and say, okay, I'm still here. Everything else fell away. Fear, regret, everything. Hello, the wake up call. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I feel like there is nothing more I want to accomplish. I don't have or want children. I have no real passions or interests. I don't crave social relationships. I think about when I play video games. I almost never make it to the end before I restart. I like the beginning of the story or quest, or whatever, more than when things start getting too complicated. Maybe life is like that. Maybe I only really enjoy the beginning. Natural death does not scare me. Being robbed of the rest of my life due to accident or cancer does. Being scared of death would have to mean I ignore the fact that we naturally age and become more and more limited on our ability to enjoy life. Naturally, as we progress through the years we should be able to experience everything a normal life offers. It'll come to a point where our bodies will continually fail us, and at that point I happily welcome death as the next stage. Instinctually, yes. If someone put a gun to my head, if I fell off a building, if I sat somewhere bleeding out, I'd feel scared. Consciously, no. It's going to happen. To everyone. I'm happy with how I've lived my life up till this point. I believe I'll continue to live my life how I'd want to. I've lived a good life and made good use of the time I've had. I don't have any real regrets, and I'm not gonna live in fear of something I can do nothing about. Death doesn't scare me. I'm religious, so either my beliefs are correct and it's just a passing into a new life, or I'm wrong and it's nothingness. Neither is a bad option in my book. Now dying? That's terrifying, considering whatever kills you usually hurts a lot. I'm very much afraid of pain. Speaking of pain in your mind, what would be the best way for you to go out? What would fulfill your life the most and prepare you for such event? It doesn't scare me. I'm very curious, so I've always wanted to know the answer to what's after death. I think it's going to be nothing, just nothing, but who knows, it could be anything. So when my time comes I've already made peace. Just want to clarify, I don't want to die. I still have many years I intend to live. Understood. A lot of people do wonder about what happens after you die. What will be your best and worst outcome to such event? Not really. Or not at all. I think more than scaring me is that death saddens me, that I no longer will be able to see or be with my family or people I love. I like how Keanu explained it. The people that love you will miss you. I'm not scared of dying, but I know how much you miss people that are gone. Hate to do that to other people, but not much we can do about it. Honestly, I'd say death does motivate me to live my life the best I can. I'd rather get the most out of my time on earth, rather than worry what's beyond death. Once I'm gone, nothing else matters. I might as well enjoy the life I have while I can. Thank you for your response. Is there any other motivator besides death that pushes you to strive to do your best? I'm not afraid to die. In fact, I'm ready whenever the universe deems it so, but I'm deathly see what I did there, afraid of the way I'll go out. I want to go peacefully in my sleep. I don't want to die some horrible, excruciatingly painful death. Just take me as I am, or don't take me at all. I don't want to be mangled. There are some times I get really sad about stuff and I feel like IDC, if I die it's pointless, and sometimes I pray to not die. IDK mostly. Even if I want to die, I would not want to die if I'm actually about to die, because I guess I want to fix my problems and try to be happy, like to be able to do more in life. The honest and most definite answer is no, death does not scare me. And my reasoning is I just don't care. Like, I've seen some pretty morbid stuff, and well, death is just an overly excited dog that eventually takes out everybody. By every once in a while I'll just completely freak out about it when I'm alone with my thoughts at night. Yes, it absolutely does. I have way too many things I need to do in my life first, and I really don't want my wife to have to live hers alone. Does the thing between me and my wife, we don't want to die because of the other? Do you believe that thought to be selfish, or maybe to selfless? I believe when I die, my soul will go into another body, or I will become a spirit guide for someone. So maybe I will get to see the people from this life and live another life with them, or I will steer someone in a direction that they need to go in. Whatever happens, I'm not too scared.